You guys, we were talking a bit about it in the green room, but the National Lived Experience Awards. So something very close to the heart of your heart, Raf, and something Cygnet was heavily involved in. And from an audience link perspective, Rowan, you guys got involved as well. So thought it'd be a good chance just to have it. I wasn't there myself, but I thought it'd be good to have a chat about the National Lived Experience Awards. Let's start off, Raf. For those people who don't know you, give us a bit of an intro about yourself.
So my name's Raf. I'm the Group Expert by Experience Lead at Cygnet. So I oversee all the co-production and Expert by Experience work that we do. Been working there for nearly 8 years now. It feels like a long time. But before then, I was an Expert by Experience with the Care Quality Commission. And I was able to kind of travel up and down the country and doing inspections, primarily of kind of inpatient mental health services. So it was a really good experience, both being on the regulatory standpoint and now with a service provider, to actually be able to see what good looks like and try to implement that in terms of that co-production practice I'm now trying to drive.
Yeah, lovely. So when it comes to the awards, how long have they been running for, and why is it important to have the awards, Raf?
Well, the awards have been going for nearly 12 years now. So they've been going on for
Wow.
some
Okay.
time. So since 2013, and initially they were called the National Service User Awards. A lot of it was off the back of, there's awards for everything, as you guys know. I see it in the sector. I get all these emails every day, and I see all over LinkedIn. There's awards for everything, different departments, different parts of the sector. But there's not much that really celebrates the fantastic lived experience talent, the different initiatives, projects, the charitable work taking place, the creativity, everything that be so much connected to recovery, so much connected to people's talents and ambitions, which is also key to recovery, and that connectedness and bringing people together in the spirit of co-production. So it was actually from a group of service users at Cygnet Derby and a lovely lady called Louise Bannister, who now works at Lincolnshire NHS Trust, who kind of worked together to co-produce the initial National Service User Awards. And after some time, nearly a decade actually, we then broadened it to the National Lived Experience Awards to also kind of have a larger focus in terms of that lived experience, also taking into account people in social care services, in recognition that the service user title is quite inpatient focused.
Mm. Yeah, nice. It's actually no. It's think about engaged care talent. Ultimately, this is about conversations around for anybody who is connected with or interested in the attraction and retention of health and social care talent. And understandably, there's lots of talk about the impact that people have, and really having an impact on people's lives. And my goodness, the National Lived Experience Awards and actually hearing people's stories, that must really bring it to life. I mean, Ro, from your perspective, it's, what was it like what was it like being at the awards? And I know you would have had some great conversations with people that you'd have been bouncing around talking to them about things and
Yeah.
What was it, put a big smile on your face when you were talking to people?
Yeah, so it did put a big smile on my face, and I've thought about it loads since as well. So I've wanted to go. I've been involved with Cygnet for, well, you say 8 years, Raf. I think that my second ever meeting was meeting with you in Manchester that day, where we made that pact to look after each other, which we've seen through as well, mate, and we've told that many times. So I've always wanted to go to the Lived Experience Awards because when I joined Cygnet, it was the first time ever I've had a real sense of purpose in a job. So, like, truly, I felt it from the very first week I was working there. And luckily enough, I'm still involved, obviously. And it's a special thing. When I used to go and visit services, I used to feel at home there, which, with the people who work there, and they just blew me away. And it was like, I would have done anything. I will do anything to help them achieve the goal of bringing in the right people to look after the people in the services. The Lived Experience Awards. So I was asked, would I sponsor it? So we partnered with Cygnet, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, would love to. But then came the email with the invitation on, right? And the invitation was to come in Regency era fashion. So first of all, I was like,
brilliant.
yeah, whatever. And then as it got a little bit closer, I thought to myself, well, what is Regency era fashion? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh man, seriously. So Regent's era fashion it's like oldie worldy, isn't it? So it's like the long coats with the frilly
We're
cuffs
talking
and
like Bridgerton stuff, are we? We're talking
yeah.
Bridgerton
So
territory here.
so anyway,
Okay,
so
yeah.
I got on
Nice.
Amazon. Obviously there are other outlets, but I got on Amazon and I bought, which is basically a costume, fancy dress costume. And I thought, yeah, that'll do. I put it on. My kids just ripped into me like, what are you doing, mate? Anyway, I parked up in the car park and I decided, no, I'm not going to wear it. So I had a very anxious walk to the actual event itself because I was walking past people who were all properly dressed up. And then I thought, right, so and anyway, we
Mm.
walked through the door and the place was just full of rainbows. Now, what I didn't see on my invitation was it was either Regent's era fashion or rainbows. And I tell you now, from the minute I walked in, it didn't matter what I was wearing, it didn't matter who I was, what I'd come, what I thought, because that as soon as you walk in, you get it. And I was just like, this is going to be special, like properly special, because you've got people there from all walks of life who are so proud, like so proud to be there. And they're walking tall, and you can tell, you can sense that it's taken a lot for some of these people to get there and to be like that. And they're supported with people who are just on their level. And I don't know if they're support workers, I don't know if they're nurses, I don't think it even matters, because they're people who are taking the time out, and some of them are driven from Scotland to, where was it, Nottingham, and it was just pure energy, and it was a leveler. So it would not matter if you were a chief exec or whether you were any sort of role whatsoever. You walk in there, you're on a level, and it's just like, right, just go and absorb what is happening. So I think, yeah, for me,
Lovely.
it was a really interesting start. And I got there, sat down, and from everything, I've still got this. Look, I didn't prepare this, I've just seen it. So this says, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, I hope this makes you smile. And on the back, somebody's written, you are an inspiration. And it was little touches like that. So you just
Nice.
sat there and I picked
Yeah,
that.
they're all of those are handwritten as well.
Oh, no,
That's
you can
the
tell. And
fantastic.
that's special. Do you know what I mean? That is special. It sits there
Yeah.
next to a couple of the little special things I've got on my desk. Yeah, I think for me, it was like just walking in there was unbelievable. However, some of the performances, people were performing, the people were rapping, people were singing, and then some of the stories of the people who'd won awards are like truly inspirational. But the biggest thing for me was at the end of those kind of awards speeches or the talks, they were addressing the room, and it was like a proper message of, it wasn't just hope, it was like proper belief, saying you can do this, you can absolutely do this, and
Mm.
it's emotional stuff. Do you know what I mean? It again, some of the performances, you end
Yeah,
up
it's
your hands
goosebumps.
are swaying like this with everyone, and it's quite a close knit event. Um, it's just incredible. Even when, like Raf kept saying, because you were presenting the whole thing, Raf, which you did unbelievably well. And every now and again, there'd be like a vape break, which was a bit of a funny thing. But you kind of pour outside. Some of the conversations I had with people who told me from how they got from where they were, which is, how do I describe it? It's a low place that you wouldn't want to be, to where they were now. And the one guy he was just about to go back into the community after a long journey. He just got an award. He's up for an award at that event. He won the award, and it puts a lot of things into perspective. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. And if I'm in a position to sponsor it again next year, 100% I will do. And I would advise anybody else to, just to be part of it. It's amazing.
Raf, you're stood there in front of how many people were there? Good
Good,
few
good,
hundred,
good,
yeah.
good few hundred. Yeah.
Right. So you're there stood in front of loads of people, and like a lot of work's gone into it. Why is it important to do that? Because it's not easy to organize that and bring all those people together. It's definitely not easy to create the stories that people were sharing in that day, whether a vape breaks or as part of the awards. So why is it important to do an awards like that and celebrate lived experience?
Like, you know what it is, sometimes I think we take things for granted as like staff members, or like even in our positions, like, you guys are like fellow kind of networkers. You get out and about, you do lots of stuff, and it's just kind of day to day. As Rowan just said, for some of the individuals that come to the awards, it's literally the highlight of their year. There's some people that came up to me even at the last one, where by everyone, and even when I just bump into people, on my travels up and down our services and NHS trusts and other services, people say that it's one of their favorite times of the year. Someone's actually said to me they love it just as much as Christmas, and
Nice.
it's a real highlight for people, and it's one of the few things that we actually have as people with lived experience to come together and actually celebrate the different talents and different abilities, projects, initiatives, creativity that is taking place, whether in services or even outside and in the community and so on. So it's really an opportunity to be able to come together, to network, to celebrate, to have a good time. And we often don't really get the option to travel. So one of the big pieces of feedback that I've got as well is often people have said they've never been that far away from home. It's almost like a holiday for some people. We've had people come, and stop over for the night before and stuff like that. And, as Rose said, people come from Scotland, from Wales, from all the way down, Cornwall, London, Kent, all over the country. And it's not just Cygnet, it's the Priory, it's other independent sector organisations, lots and lots of NHS trusts. Like Rose said, we had chief executives there, we had
Brilliant.
people who are currently in services, people who have been discharged from services, people kind of living in their home with support and like kind of supported living arrangements. So there's just all people from all walks of life just together. And there's something about it in the sense that co-production, a big part of what co-production is about that power sharing, that power equality. And I think what Ro was touching upon just there is what one of the main aims is really of the awards. And it's not only about showcasing and celebrating, but also about spreading the love about co-production. And when you walk in there, it's just it's just an energy that's difficult to describe. Everyone's just equal. You've got someone in services sat next to a chief executive that they've never met before, but everyone's just there supporting and celebrating together.
I've been to a couple of awards that are kind of similar within care companies where you've got staff members who've gone above and beyond usually, and they are special events. And the importance of recognition it goes way beyond just winning an award, because it's massive for people. The thing that got me about the Lived Experience Awards was, so the performances, it wasn't just the performances, which were incredible, and they were like, it's such good fun apart from anything else. But there was, a couple of people who've been nominated or got awards who, one gentleman who couldn't actually get up to come and take the award. And it just didn't matter. And it took him a while to read out his speech, and it just didn't matter. Everybody there was just like, you could feel without going, "Go on, my son." Everybody, it felt like every single person was doing that mentally, sending his energy. And it was like, wow, you know what I mean? It was just so good. And I can't remember his name, which is really bad, but the guy who's doing the rap, Raf, he did 2 songs.
Kojo. It would be great, Chris, if somehow we can just add it in here for a second for the viewers.
Absolutely.
We'll send you a sound.
We have to. I mean, it's the first one. He stood up and the backing track didn't work. So and I've been there, having played guitar in front of people before, and if it didn't work out, I would have crumbled and run home like, can't believe it. And he just stood there like, yeah, okay, all right, looking at everybody's looking at him, all eyes, the whole room was quiet. He just nailed it, didn't he? For the content of what he's saying is so relevant. You're just like, wow, I want to be part of whatever he does. That's how it makes you feel. It's incredible. So good.
Brilliant.
We're getting him to come back and perform again, by the way, Ro. So, at the end of the year, Cygnet have that massive conference where all the managers come to and everything. We're getting him to come and perform there.
Amazing.
Talk to all of our managers as well. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
For me, like this thing about that recognition, about that stepping back, along with that thing that ultimately doesn't matter whether you're the team that are providing the care or you're someone with that lived experience, patient or a service user. There is that thing about it takes a village to make progress. So how do you people are listening to this, they go, I want to try and bottle some of that. Yes, they can go to national awards like this, but how do they kind of bottle that day to day or week to week or month to month of recognizing progress that everyone makes in the ultimately having a positive impact on people's lives?
Yeah, so there's there's quite a bit of a process. So there's a kind of what we call a service user resident events team. That's kind of the organizing, but there's also a judging process as well. That
Hmm.
anyone can actually nominate, anyone can submit. So once nominations actually open, people just kind of flood with all sorts of different projects, initiatives, ideas. It can be pictures, it can be drawings, it can be music, performances. And once that's all kind of collated, there's kind of like a judging process that involves people with lived experience and then senior leaders within the sector as well. It tends to be kind of third sector charitable organizations, service providers, and then yeah, it's just a bit of a vibe after that. There's also a special award called the Mark Britton Award, and
Okay.
that's a really powerful one. If you saw that one, Ro, where we had Mark Britton's mum, Maggie, come up, and Mark was someone who was very, very involved in the National Service User Awards
There you
beforehand,
go.
and yeah,
Well, that for you, look there, Raf.
Ah, brilliant.
But this is Mark Britton's mum, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and this is the gentleman I was talking about. I was talking to outside. So
Nice.
Yeah, but that there's some awards that you can actually vote for whilst you're at the award ceremony. So it's actually judged at the award ceremony. That, like a People's Choice Award. Everyone's
Yeah.
kind of got
Okay.
like a bit
Yeah.
of a clicker in it, Ro. And then
Nice. That's cool.
it's the
the
Service
other
User
thing,
Choice Award.
sorry, Raf. So the other thing that you mentioned, a couple of people mentioned it, is that you were putting together a book. I don't know if it was you specifically, but as a group, there was a book of, which I can only explain as a book of recognition as well. So I think that there's other ways, isn't there? And I think that book was going to sit in, the foyer of Cygnet and wherever else.
Check it out. If we can put it in here, that would be great. It would be a great shout. It's called the Cygnet Yellow Book.
Okay.
So it would be great if we could plug that. You're absolutely right, Ro. I think since we spoke about that, because it was a while back when we spoke about that, but that's happened now. That's already in all
Yeah.
of our receptions. So
Amazing.
that's issue that's happened already, and it's got all the talent. We went a little bit further with it, Ro, as well. And what we did is we added in helpful resources and kind of different organizations as well within that for people to take with them after they're discharged from services, just as a helpful kind of handy book, getting back into the community. So it's got all sorts of organizations and QR codes in there, from like Samaritans to kind of different charities. But then you've got like a collection of poetry and music to empower episodes, which I know you guys have been
Nice. Yeah.
involved in and seen before. And so Tony was really supportive of helping put that together, our chief executive, and also Lord Patel of Bradford, who kind of helped link us up with a charity to make that happen.
That's amazing. So I think there's a couple of things here. One is obviously advice to anybody else listening to this who wants to either get a bit of support from the organisation they're in to do their own recognitions, which I think we're providing here, but general ideas. I think the other thing for me is people join healthcare quite often because they want to help people who need help achieve positive outcomes. And like the lived experience awards, the book is like the pinnacle. When people achieve positive outcomes with people they look after, it will keep them going day to day. They'll end a challenging working week going, that was amazing. I've got the best job in the world. And I think that, yes, the event, the book is like the pinnacle of it. However, in the broader picture, if we were, which is what we're trying to do on Engaged Care Talent, if we're trying to appeal to people to come and join the sector and show them actually what positive outcomes look like, I think it's things like these events and these awards that really do it. Because as well as the performances and the music and the fun bit, there was a couple of awards where people have basically set up. They've been like entrepreneurial, haven't they? And nailed something absolutely incredible because they've been so focused in their recovery to come out and actually do something. I can't remember the lady's name, but I don't know if I should be mentioning names, but you can if you want, Raf. But there was one lady in particular who, if she was sat on Dragon's Den that day, addressing, she wouldn't be out of place. It was like, again, you're just like, I want her on my team. You're like,
Nice.
that. She's amazing what she was doing. And yeah, there's some real entrepreneurial stuff that comes out. So confidence in performing, entrepreneurial skills. And it's just really hits home that this is just a room full of people. These are all just real people, just like anybody else who've had a very challenging time, but they've been supported, and the people who are supporting them to become these confident, amazing people that are showcasing are the people who've joined this sector. And I mean, think of those people. I think I might have a picture here. In fact, I have, because let me just show you again. think it's important to share this stuff. You can see just how happy I was here, Chris. So this is the award that I sponsored. So first of all, I don't think you've ever seen my face looking as wide as that, because my face was hurting.
But they came all the way from Scotland, didn't they, Rob?
And this was the proper fumbles, wasn't it? They'd come all the way from Scotland. They were, jumping around, cheering and all that. But imagine just how, I don't know who is the support worker team or whatever, but when they get home after their day's work, after all this is done, and they're sat there in their home environment with the family, the kids, oh, what have you been up to this week at work? And they're just like, let me tell you, like, how good is that? How good must that feel? Yeah. Because these people here with the award, they've just been stood up on the stage in front of all those people talking about the things that they've done that make them so proud. And that's why they joined this sector. It's amazing.
It's like, it's kind of quite, it's very apt you mentioned like the People's Choice Awards, and kind of like, that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from it. And this thing about, when you see these events so much, you can kind of take it for granted, but it means a big deal. People are traveling from Scotland and, they're up on stage and they're getting recognized. It's like, it's really powerful stuff. And my goodness, so I think it's a great opportunity to show people inside the organizations, but also outside in terms of recruitment, that actually the work that happens day in, day out is it really is inspiring, and inspiring is explained with awards like this. But when it comes to like, how do you, that confidence thing, I think is really interesting what you say there, Ro, because that's the confidence thing about building the confidence of individuals in care, but also building the confidence of the teams that are supporting them, for them to realize that, oh yeah, it is tough and we don't always get it right, but my goodness, look at what we have done.
100%.
I think that confidence thing is so important through so many elements of life, especially in health and social care, for sure.
It's about kind of remembering why, like, it helps people remember why they come to work. It's not just about the lived experience element. A big part of it is also a lot of the staff, a lot of the people that have come to the National Lived Experience Awards that have actually been moved to tears are the staff. Staff, like Ro was saying earlier, who might be coming and supporting, especially if you're coming from quite far. You might have staff supporting people, kind of helping drive people up and stuff like that. And actually having them see a performance of someone they've supported over the years now performing in front of all of these people, showcasing their talents and their abilities, and you feel invested in that individual as well, because you kind of feel part of their journey as well, having been part of their care team or having supported them. It's very emotional for people. And I think that's a big part that plays into things like retention and so on and so forth. And just touching upon your point, Ro, why it's important to continue and to support events like these is, when other staff have actually came in the past and they kind of see the values and, what an organization is doing, that's something you want to be a part of as well. So like, there is definitely that element to it as well, like from a staffing standpoint, because it's easy to, over the years, start to forget what does recovery look like. If you only work in inpatient services, for example, you're only really seeing people at a time in their lives that warrants detention under the Mental Health Act, or warrants a hospital placement. Whereas it's important to get out and about. It's important to get to the community. It's important to have events like these to give staff that inkling of what it's like on the other side and how far people can actually go with their support to keep them motivated and keep them inspired to do what they do.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you do that kind of day in, day out, I suppose? Because there's the thing about, it's great to do the National Lived Experience Awards. How do you kind of bottle that and get that kind of vibe of that recognition and confidence building on a kind of more everyday basis? Because I mean, you've seen it all, Raf, haven't you? Really? So, what kind of advice would you give for anyone who's like, I want to try and instill that kind of recognition element and the reflection piece more in the day to day or week to week?
It's hard. It is hard, because look, at the end of the day, we're working with what we're working with as a sector, and we are where we are. Some people I work with that don't have Section 17 leave, as we call it. They're not allowed outside the hospital, for instance. On our social care side, some people that I work with and support are non-verbal and have very significant communication needs. So there's always an excuse why we can't do it, right? But for every reason why we can't, there's a way that we can. Even if people can't necessarily go outside into the community, we can do things to the environment within the service to enable some of these things. So if you look at something we've got called the People's Council, which is very similar to a service user forum or patient forum, we actually have at the vast majority of them a recognition slot for staff. So kind of like a staff of the month, but chosen by the patients or the residents.
That's
And
nice.
that's a nice touch as well, isn't it? Because it's chosen by the people who are being supported and in recognition of the staff. And then on the broader piece, as I was saying about kind of more recovery and creating an atmosphere that you would want to work in, it's things like the environment. So I think you guys have seen the stuff that we're trying to do around social hubs. You've seen
Yeah,
things
really
like
nice.
to empower. You wouldn't believe how much staff come out and just like, oh, like I'm really, really like love things like music to empower, because we sometimes talk about staff as if they're robots or something. Staff also like music too, man.
Mm.
Staff like we talk about sensory rooms and sensory needs as if it's only us as people with lived experience that benefit from these things. Staff benefit from sensory stuff too. If you look at the social hubs, it's not just us that like you guys like Time Crisis. I know
Yeah,
Chris used to whack a bit of Street Fighter back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like
that's it.
we all like this stuff.
yeah.
So it's not just about
Exactly.
the lived experience standpoint.
So
There's
I
also the
agree.
gesture, I think, because Cygnet don't have to do that, do they? But the gesture of having something like the social hubs in itself is great. Obviously, not only for service users and patients, but it's also staff going. The company I work for is prepared to put an extra mile in
Exactly.
to do this kind of thing, and that means that actually there's a big amount of really caring about what the organisation does.
You're spot on. I mean, I wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. I mean, it would be easy just not to invest in these things, isn't it? But
Mm.
it's just like we have to. Like I was talking about this to someone from the Royal College of Psychiatrists this morning, actually, and our group medical director. We're basically saying that with mental health and learning disabilities and just health and social care generally, we just need to accept and be in a position that we constantly have to innovate and we
Yeah,
constantly have to just continuously get better. Part of that's going to be, resources. Part of it's having passionate people and, senior leader buy-in, on a senior level to kind of support and drive this stuff. And you got the passion. Every service, Ro, you remember when you used to work within services, you got really good staff that work on the ground, but you tend to have one or two staff members that will just really, really go above and beyond and that want to bring different ideas to the table and bring different ideas to the service. I believe that every organization has got lots of different people with innovative ideas, skills, and different things that they can bring to the table to just help us continuously evolve and innovate, whether that's the design, whether that's looking at different ways we can incorporate therapies. Let's think about nature. Let's think about music, gaming rooms, whatever it may be. We just need to think outside the box because for a long time we were just doing the same thing and it just wasn't really working.
100%.
yeah,
I think
lovely.
what's really important as well is that because you've got people who are kind of on the front line, whether that's from hospital director or care home manager, all the way down to support workers in the care staff. They will get. I'll put this into a better explanation. I remember going to one of the hospitals at Cygnet, and I was doing a bit of an employer brand project, so trying to understand what does it actually feel like to work here? Why do you do it, kind of thing? And it was with the hospital director, who I won't name, and she went, "Wait there," and she ran off to her office and then came back, and she had a card, and it was a card that she'd been given that morning from a service user, and it just said inside in like amazing kind of real handwriting, if you like, it just says, "You make me smile every time I see you," and she went, "That's why I do it," and it was like,
Brilliant.
okay, right. Well, meeting over then, that'll do. I understand it. But if you're in the services, you get that. You get the lived experience. You might get the book, all that kind of stuff. The other part of it, which I think is really important, is the central services as well. So having worked in recruitment and with recruitment teams, sometimes I find it really useful to remind people, do you know the impact that you have on the people that we look after in this company or that you look after as
Yeah,
a company?
yeah,
Whether you're in IT or in a data team or anything, I think the impact that you have as a whole company, as a whole team, is just unbelievable. And I do think that sometimes
yeah. Good point.
recognition in organizations does go kind of unmissed because it just becomes your daily job. So I think that's kind of a really important thing for people to remember, is that it's not just the people in the services looking after people, it's people in essential services. And I think one thing you said before, Raf, is dead right, is that the people who work at Cygnet, in other healthcare companies, they are real people. They get a lot out of being in those sensory rooms and in those kind of social hubs. I was speaking with a lady from another care company who spends a lot of time going out with the children that are in their services, and they go and do different things like rock climbing or this or that, like loads of amazing things. And I said to her, how do you find it yourself? And she's like, I'd never do anything like this in my normal life ever. I never do it with my kids, and I would never do it. I'd be scared to do it. And I'm like, but you do it? And she went, yeah, of course I do, because I'm doing it it's for the kids. But she's getting loads out of it. So it's even, and I think there's just things like that people probably don't see from the outside when they're looking at healthcare, social care, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's a job. How much do I get paid? What hours do I do? But actually, the being in it, the realness of it, I don't think you get that from many walks of life, do you? And I think that's a really important thing that we have to. It's our job.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's down to perception a little bit as well, because like I think sometimes so. I'll give you one example actually. Like as having been a patient, and from what I speak to a lot of the service users today as well, we were very close. Obviously, the nursing staff are really important, and as you know, the support workers we spend the most time with as part of the care team. The people we tend to like get along with a lot and who we rated a lot, or myself certainly, was just like the domestic staff. Because there's no power dynamic there, they're not really holding the keys and saying you can't go out, you can't do that. Just have a normal human conversation with you. There was some domestic staff that I must say, like, helped out just as much as nurses or doctors.
absolutely.
When you were talking, it just reminded me of that, and I was just thinking, it's a shame that those kind of people don't get recognised more.
I'd arrive, you'd be being shown around or whatever, and there would be the legendary maintenance man he was like the boss man. He's like, this is the main man, this is the guy, and he's there fixing a door, but just full of life. Or the people who work behind, because it was quite difficult to recruit for a chef, but somebody at a small kind of social care unit. Is it a chef? Is it a cook? But you needed the right kind of person who literally ran that hour, that lunch hour, the 2 hours, whatever. They just ran it. But the people in that home, they couldn't wait for lunchtime because that person was just, it's like they were celebrity status, as well as serving the food and making it. It was like they need them in their lives. It is. I get what you're saying. Special. Go on, Chris. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, actually, you've just created a really nice segue for what I was going to say. Actually, I remember that time me and Euro, I think it was probably during COVID. Actually, we were having conversations with support workers, since people, and there was a housekeeper there. I think there's some nurses in the room as well. And somebody said to the housekeeper, like, "Well, what are you talking about? If it wasn't for you, this place wouldn't be running. We wouldn't be able to do at least 50% of the stuff that we do." And then the slight surprise on the housekeeper's face, and actually, like, you're an absolute kind of fulcrum of this site. It's so nice to hear. And I think it is so good, like, there's opportunities like the National Lived Experience Awards, or like those things you can do, like the People's Council, those like internal awards, where it's just getting people to take a bit of a step back from what are busy days and challenging days to go, oh my God, like, really? I'm doing this for a reason. No, it's not easy, but actually, maybe I wouldn't do it if it wasn't easy. I remember talking years ago I think it was Berry, to a support worker, and he's like, I used to work in a warehouse. Now this is a lot more difficult, and bad stuff does happen. But you know what? I do it for a reason, and that's like just goosebump stuff. It really is. It's great. It's great.
That's
But
good.
look, it'd be great to be able to talk about the next awards. Maybe do something in the lead up to the next awards.
Yeah,
But I think this is certainly something we want to come back to. You're a friend of Engaged Care Talent, Raf. So it's definitely, there's plenty of good chat that we can have.
Yeah,
It'd be great to have you guys commit to the sponsoring again, Rowan.
Yeah,
and also to have you all down again for the next one.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other thing, if we can, it'd be great to get some of the people who were up for awards or involved on here.
100%.
One guy in particular I was speaking to.
We have to get Kojo on.
Yeah, we've got to get Kojo on, and Ewan, mate. I could sit
Yes.
there and speak to him for a week non-stop. He was just
He's
blowing
got
my
so
mind.
many
He's just,
ideas.
yeah, young lad. He's just so clever, and it's like, wow, I want to know your story. I just want to kind of wrap this up, and this isn't well, it is what it is. So I think you, Raf, are a massive inspiration. So when I've seen you speak, when I work with you, I couldn't quite believe you and your story, and I don't know, in a way, I just want to say that I think that you are massively influential to so many people. And like I said before, when when as you speak to the recruitment team, you say, just remember how many people you've affected, whatever. You have to do the same, mates, to step back. And I'm sure you do. I'm sure people tell you all the time. But for me personally, I think you're incredible. And the way you presented those awards and the warmth that those people have got and the way you made them feel at ease, like you were so chilled. And I know that it takes a lot to get into that place to make it run like that. It's just, I doff my cap to you, mate. It's incredible what you do. So
Absolutely.
yeah, well
Absolutely.
done, mate.
Thanks a lot. I think of them like when I'm standing on stage, I just think of Mr. Bean, and then I'm able to kind of just chill out and go for it. But a big part of it is the support from colleagues like yourself, Rowan, Chris, and organizations like yourself. You've always been as supportive, both when you're working with me here at Cygnet to now Engage Care. So yeah, I just really appreciate it.
No, look, we want to give people a platform to have these kind of conversations. So it's, it's great. And I think, absolutely echo what we've talked about. People who haven't listened to it, there's an episode in the early days of Engaged Care Talent and me and Raf talking about, it's a good long episode, but there's loads of great conversation there. Find out a bit more about the why behind Raf and what he's done and how much he's achieved. Because, there is things like, you don't have to be up on stage in front of everybody at the National Lived Experience Awards to do the kind of things that Raf is doing. And that starts with, with that determination and confidence in yourself. And I think, you're a great example of that. So we'll make sure there's a link to the episode in the episode description somewhere near this video.
I think at these events there was 8 sponsors. So hopefully this will help influence, because if you double that for next year, then wow, what an event that would be. Be special, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we can celebrate even more people and inspire even more, even staff as well, like we've been talking about from this. And I think off the back of this episode as well, I'm actually really going to go back to the team and really speak about that staff bit as well, because it's just brought back a lot of memories just speaking to you guys today, just about how many staff have been moved by the awards themselves. And do we need to do more of that? Do we need, particularly in inpatient services, do we need to show staff more about the impact that they're having on people? Because unfortunately, after people are discharged, the next time staff would likely see someone again is unfortunately upon readmission. For the people who don't get readmitted, they don't get to really see them again, and they're not really seeing the impact that they're having. So we need to do a piece of that as a sector more widely in terms of inpatient services, and it's through events like these that we can really drive that.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Great stuff.
But
good speaking to you.
Always good. Yeah. Good times. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rob.